Welcome to Track Girl Summer. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, hi friend.
All right. Finally, let's go. I am Natasha Hastings. This is my co host, Kori Carter, and we are bringing the culture to track and field.
Track girl summer. Track girl summer.
Follow me, Natasha Hastings, all the things Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow Kori, the Kori Monster, on all her things Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I should know this by now. Most importantly, the main reason why you're here, follow Track Girl Summer, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so that you're notified anytime we post a video. Yeah, just, make sure that you're subscribed so that you have the subscription, the notifications, all the things, because, yeah, we're getting our lives together over here. Last but not least, make sure you shop that merch, trackgirlsummer.com. We got the trucker hat that my hair is a little too big for right now.
Why
The
do you ever wear hair that fits with the hat?
t-shirts, more merchandise to come. Also, make sure you tag us in your, fashionable track girl summer. So, we have an amazing guest this evening that we're going to get into. But before we get into the things, we got to do the fit check. Kori.
I'm just it's sweater weather. Sweater weather, so just a little sweatsuit and
I see the
wear that
crappie
with
toppy. Oh gosh, poor Kovu.
Cole had to wear his sweater, it's getting a little chilly out there. Cold world no snuggie. So he looks good though. My baby looks good. It's got a little bone pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Mm-hmm.
to see it.
I'm rocking the brand Track Girl Summer, trackgirlsummer.com. Just a little fatigue sweat bottom. Um, South
I love
Carolina, I
petite.
don't know what to say about it. I left my house this morning and it was 39 degrees, and by the time I came home, it was 70 degrees. I don't know how to dress anymore. So
Wait, what?
here we
Absolutely
are.
not.
Swear. So that is the current sitch. So let's get into it, Kori. Will you do the
Okay, so
honors?
today's words, Corey. Today's guest is Christian Taylor. If you can't tell, I'm very excited. He went to the University of Florida. You guys already knew that. He won back-to-back NCAA indoor titles and then consecutive NCAA outdoor championship titles in 2010 and 2011. All right, guys. I'm just gonna let you know, this is a long list, but you know what? I'm gonna go through it because Christian Taylor, 2011 World Championship, gold medalist, right? 2012 World Indoors, he got silver in the triple jump, and at the Olympic Games, he won gold. Okay? 2013, he got fourth at Russia. 2014, he got a gold on the 4x4 relay. I just wanted to highlight that one. 2015, first in World Championships. 2016, first in Rio. 2017, first in London. Fun fact, we were competing at the exact same time in London. And 2019, first in Doha. So, king of the triple jump. I like to call him the prom king of track and USA track and field, Christian Taylor.
Ladies, thank you for the intro. I really admire what you guys have done, but really thank you for letting me be here. And yeah, let's just get started.
Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here. We're honored. We're in the presence of greatness.
You really are. Christian Taylor, I don't know why. You gotta call him Christian Taylor or CT. I don't think I've ever addressed you as Christian. But you were on my first team ever. We went to Bydgoszcz, Poland, and I was like 16 years old on the juniors
I
team.
was like, what
And
team was that? Okay.
yeah, I was young. And CT took me under his wing, and he's been my big bro ever since. So I really appreciate him being here today or tonight, whatever we're doing.
Right. What time is it? Let's not talk about it. Christian, where are
And
you?
no, I
Where are
appreciate
you?
that. Yeah, so I'm in Colorado Springs now. So this summer, unfortunately, ruptured my Achilles in May, leading up to would have been my third Olympics. Was very hopeful for this, but as we all know, as part of the sport, there are no guarantees, and you can never take something for granted. And so this was frustrating initially, humbling through the process, and now I'm just seeing a bit of light starting to come out of it. So this is now my second time being here through the summer, and I'm very hopeful that I'll be leaving here running and slowly getting back to plyometrics again. So fingers crossed.
Well, CT, you may not have gotten a medal this summer, but you did get a wife.
He
It's
got a
true. It's
ring.
true.
This ain't a
It's
wedding
true.
ring,
So I
but
actually got married. I got married twice, actually. Believe it or not. So we were trying to get married at the end of October after the original Olympic Games in Tokyo, but due to COVID, the borders were closed. Everything got shut down. So we said, you know what? Let's play it safe. Let's get married 2020, 2021, right?
right.
So
Where are we? What year is it?
right. I feel like these 2 years have really been stretched out. That was like 2, 3. But yeah, so we said we're just going to postpone it a year, just make it happen. We thought the borders would open come March. There were still no changes. Europeans weren't allowed to travel. We weren't allowed to go over there. And so we basically had to say, are we going to postpone it one more year or we're going to have to be creative? So ended up going over there. Once I ruptured my Achilles, I ruptured it in Ostrava. So I was already in the Czech Republic, and so I said, you know what, let's just drive to Austria, have the surgery, and then get married. So we got married over there, got the marriage certificates, and then she was able to travel to the U.S., and then we got married for the second time in Florida. So it was quite an adventure, but nonetheless, we got it done.
I feel like we're leaving a lot of details out because it's like we got married over there, borders were closed. People are like, we know,
Okay.
but
Right. So yeah, my wife is formerly Beata Straught, now Beata Taylor, but she's an Olympic hurdler, 100-meter hurler from Austria, and we met actually in Daegu. Participated and traveled together, as you guys know, in the circuit. Got to know each other. We went to both games together. Started dating in 2016 before Rio. Kept it on the hush because we didn't want anybody just like messing us up and also messing up basically what we were working towards for Rio. You know, we didn't want anybody just trying to cause any extra distractions. As you guys know, the little things can make a difference, like when you go into the Olympic Games. And so we were like, we'll like announce it when it's over, and then basically after, because our finals are at the same time, so we just went to the mix zone, went straight to her country's media, and we're like, by the way, we've been dating for this whole year.
Aw.
We're announcing it now, and so yeah, her parents actually found out before me because we announced it on their well, before my parents because we announced it on their media. But then we went to Nike Hospitality after that. My parents were there. We were like, oh, by the way, she's not a distraction. She ended up like fueling me and supporting me to my second gold. And yeah, so track and field definitely has played I would say, a significant positive impact on my life.
Come on, track love.
I feel like we just got like an exclusive. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of late now, but like, that was so sweet. No
Wow,
one
And
thank you.
knew for a whole
I feel
year.
you on keeping it on the low because one thing about the circuit, it's like high school. Everyone knows everyone's business.
Yeah, it's just too small, right? Like it's too tight knit. And to be honest, as you guys know, like when you're single, the doors are wide open. You know what I'm saying? You don't have anybody knocking. Once you start dating, it's like that's when the DMs start popping off. That's when
Man,
those
because let me tell you something. My
lobby
DMs
licks
are so dry. You right.
That is not true. Christian,
It
I want
is
to tell you that's
true.
not
It
true.
is
Every
true.
time we go live, we got 6 or 7 dudes being like, Natasha, if you would only grant me the presence of your
They be on the
company.
lives. They not in the DMs though.
Well,
But
I'm
that's
telling you guys
boldness,
right
right?
now.
They putting themselves out there.
Natasha's
DMs
DMs
is
are
kind of
open.
quiet.
Moving on.
Honestly, we should do a live where I host a dating show and I get to filter out the guys coming for you. That'll be our next one. But
Somebody
let's
needs
get
to
back
filter them for me.
Christian.
Yeah, let's get back to the script.
I want to know how you started triple jumping because I feel like that's not like triple jumping is a hard event. I swear, when I watch y'all do it, I actively watch you guys get arthritis in your knees, ankles, and hips.
Yep.
So yeah, how did you get into jumping?
Yeah, believe it or not, like even with that, right? So I've been reaching out to Aleve, ibuprofen, trying to get a little contract with them because I was like, these joints are not going to be able to take it too long. So definitely arthritis is to come. I know it. It's just such a unnatural event, unnatural movement. But really, getting into track and field, getting into the triple jump was just trial and error. I thought I was going to be this World Cup soccer player. Soccer was my love. And then I started to grow. And then I was like, okay, basketball is going to be my niche. I was dunking in middle school. So I was like, okay, cool, I can jump. But
What?
as
That
you
shouldn't
guys
be
know,
surprising.
as you guys know, like I'm 6'2", and in basketball, that's just not tall, right?
Yeah.
So like I had that
Solid
early growth
one.
spurt, and I was like 6 foot in high school, in middle school, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm about to get signed, I'm about to get, and then I got to high school, and then there were 7 footers, right? And so I was like, okay, that was humbling. Like basketball is not my thing. Tried baseball, hand-eye coordination was not my thing, so I couldn't hit to save my life. Did golf, tennis. Like I was trying everything
You
because
tried
like my dad was like,
everything.
you are gifted. Like so, I was never like I'm not a gamer, right? So these people doing esports and stuff. My dad was like, no, you need to get out, find out like what you're good at. So I literally just trial and error. Then did track and field, and then same thing. It was like, let me try the 100. Nope, too slow. Let me do cross country. Nope, too far. And then eventually like I was one of the, because I was one of the oldest kids in the class. I was one of the only ones that can make it into the sand pit, and my coach was like, "Okay, that's guaranteed points for us. So you're gonna do the triple jump." And then that was it. Then I started watching VHS, DVD, and yeah, figured it out.
Not VHS and DVD. Some little kid is gonna watch this and be like, VHS.
That's
Yeah, aging
dedication
myself a
because you gotta
bit.
go. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna go watch Disney. You gotta go find someone's tape. That's real dedication.
Right. So, now
Um,
it's like Disney Plus, you can stream everything, but then it was,
yeah.
this is blockbuster time, right? So, I can give out a shout out to Walter Davis. Like I was watching the LSU
Oh
jump
yeah.
crew and, so Eric Walter, like this was really, I mean, USA was strong in the jumps.
Student of the sport. So what grade were you in when you finally found the triple jump?
So when I got into the triple jump, I was, I think eighth grade, eighth or ninth grade.
Okay.
Um,
Wow, you
and
tried
that's
all
when I
of that
really,
out by eighth grade?
oh yeah, like you got to think like when you're a kid, you could do multiple sports.
Yeah,
You know,
this is true.
right?
This is true.
That's a drug in itself. Like I wish I could tap back into that kid energy, but you could just do multiple things, right? So yeah, like it was nothing to do basketball, then go to track after. Now
Yeah.
Yeah.
everyone's so specialized and thinking about recovery, but when you're a kid, like you're like, all right, let's
What's
just do
next?
it.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
telling you guys, let your kids be athletes and then become specialists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let them be
Um,
kids.
so you're jumping, you're doing amazing, and then I would just call it jump you, but you guys, you go down and become a gator. And you're there with
Yep.
Will, you're there with Omar. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so that was a blessing in disguise. So I mean, I knew that because our program actually wasn't even ranked. Like we were just another team in the SEC. I think when we came in, we were ranked 14 on the men's side, and so yeah, it was really cool to see that we had a very strong recruiting class, and then a few months later, we ended up winning, team title, SEC titles, and then obviously when you win and you build a strong chemistry, and everyone starts to buy in, starts to believe. The training becomes a bit more intense, a bit more focused, and that was really special to see the transition because I had people like Terrell Wilkes that was like a mentor to me.
Oh
He
yeah.
was on my junior team,
Yeah.
so so to go from Big Gosh to University of Florida, the following year have Terrell really just take me under his wing and be like, look, this is not, don't focus on where we are, but like focus on like what we have like in front of us. And so that was really special and something that like just kind of planted the seed with me moving forward. It was like, don't worry about like where you are, you know, whether in the fall you can have your goals, but like it may not always go as planned. It may not, but just focus on like what you can do, right? And so yeah, we started winning and you know Florida started to get a lot of attention. Will was at Oklahoma at that time. His coach left, went to Chula Vista, and so then he was like, okay, I'm come down to Florida. You guys seem to be doing something right, and that's when it became jumps you, right? Like that's when the training just kind of became very intense. I don't want to say volatile, but like it was really like it was hot. Like it was like temperature was hot because we were in Florida, but also there was a lot of trash talking. There was, but the thing is, at the end of the day, like what happened at the track, we were pushing each other, getting it done. Then we would step outside and we would be like brothers and stuff like that. So it was a weird camaraderie, weird chemistry. But at the end of the day, we knew that no one would beat us. We had each other's back, and at the end, once we got to the international stage, we were the best in the world.
Yeah, volatile was not the word I was expecting you to describe that
No, but
trio because
if
but
you watch
watching you all
their,
compete, like you see the intensity, but you don't
mm-hmm.
see that like I always saw it as like you guys pushing each other and like y'all
But they
making the
still trying to
other
win and
jump
beat each
better.
other.
But yeah, I
But you
guess
know,
it
like
makes
with guys,
sense.
right? Like I mean, when testosterone gets flowing, and then everyone's like competitive, right? Everyone wants to be the big dog. Everyone wants to be the alpha, and sometimes like it could just like you know, there's sayings like it's well that elevated quickly. You know, it's like you can trash talk one day, and it's like, bro, like we did this yesterday, right? And it was just that one joke too much, right? So I'm the joker. So I'm the sly guy that's like I do shots in the joking form. You know, like Omar is like he doesn't want to talk, he just wants to throw hands. Will is like the in between, right? So
The
like
smooth talker,
you know,
the
so he's real smooth with it, but like so we've all got like our strengths, but it was just like always just somebody pushing somebody in some way, and that just turned the training up. And like Mouse would have to come separate us and just be like, y'all can't. So I would be with the 400 guys some days because like Mouse
we
would just
want to
be
get
like,
into
this is
that.
just too hot over there, right? So Christian, just go over, run some 300s, like just go do stuff. Omar, like go cool off because it would just be like we would just explode for no reason. But at the end, like once we got to the team stuff, once we got, it was like, look, band of brothers, let's get it done, and then off to the next.
We already got all of that mess out at practice. That's so funny.
Yeah,
I would have never.
And you know what? You
yeah.
guys are a band of brothers because I had to go ahead and look up the stats. But when y'all won your guys' national championship, 30 out of your 52 points came from the jump squad. Like y'all were really getting it done. And I will say this, I said this, if I said this once, I've said this a million times. If you want to be entertained, go watch the jumps because they put on a show. To hear you guys trash talk, you guys don't only trash talk, you back it up. And that's what I love about you guys. You guys are really putting on world-class performances and entertaining the crowd, and I love to see it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
also
no,
to
that's the
see,
thing though. Like, there's a lot of media that's like, "Oh, we would love to put mics on you guys." We love, but I'm just like, God, that's just not the place to do it, right? Like in the call room, but once we get out there in that hour, it's not the like it's not the people that you think we are, right? It gets real ugly, it gets real
But
dirty.
that's what makes it interesting, no?
Yeah,
yeah. Because
yeah,
I
but
think
you
a
got to
lot of
think
people
also
have this
like
image
we also
of
trying
you
to
as
portray a
like,
certain image.
Go ahead,
I
Christian.
think a lot of,
I, I said we're trying to portray a certain image, right? So like I can't be like, and I'm not saying it's not like Christian like, but it's not Christian like, right? So it's just like, look, like
It
we
gets
better do
real
what we
out
need to
here.
do.
yeah.
Like you know, it's your money, it's my money. Like we got, you know, so it's just like there's just always something, and because we've been together for so long, we know the buttons to push, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's I'm thankful for it. I could not be more grateful than to have these guys and many other my competitors, right? To be close with them because that friendship is also what has pushed me to the links that I've jumped, right? Because I know like I have to bring my A game out of respect. If I don't do it, you're gonna do it, right? So like yeah, I'm just not willing to give that up.
And I wouldn't say it's like an image like you guys are being fake. I, for one, completely dissociate from who I am on the track. Like that's not me. That's a completely different person, and she is not to be messed with. And you really don't want to mess with her, but that doesn't take away from the the Christian woman I am on the track.
Yeah, I wish people would see it, like, or even feel, because for me it's a feeling, right? Like you can feel the tension when it's a final. Like it's just a different vibe, right? Like people are like, oh, you made the team. It's like you don't know what I went through mentally to get on that team,
That part.
right? Like for me, making the U.S. team, whether world champs, whether Olympic, like that's the biggest, no pun intended, that's the biggest hurdle for me, right? So like when I make the team, I'm like, thank God. Okay, like the hardest part is behind me, but people don't realize like that U.S. team is like that's it.
Which is so interesting when you think about what spectators and commentators have to say, but it's like you just painted it perfectly. Like the tension that you feel going into the call room, sitting out there with those guys, jumping, the anticipation of I got to make this team, making this team, taking that sigh of relief, and then going to the World Championships and having to perform again, the Olympics, you know? Um, yeah.
The times I get sick the most are at the trials. So thankfully they started putting in the, if you win the Diamond League you get a bye. Like that was by the grace of God, because I was like, okay, every other year, like maybe I don't have to do the trials.
Let me
With
breathe.
the Olympics, there are no free tickets, but like when I can't sleep, when I at the Olympic Games, like of course you're nervous and you want to do what, but it doesn't mean anything. Like you can be in the best shape of your life if you don't take care of it at the U.S.
U.S.
trials,
trials.
your summer is over, right? So like I realized this, and then the pressure of everyone else, the expectation, right? It's like, oh, like you're gonna win, and it's like it's not about winning. Like I need to make the team. I don't care if I'm the third person. I just need to make it on that team.
And your event is hot. Like y'all really be going out there jumping. What is your mentality on finals day? Got to make the team. Like pressure's on. Like what do you tap into?
I gotta beat Will. I think if I beat Will, then that's one spot. Like, cause I in my eyes, I'm like, Will is always a guaranteed spot, right? So again, out of respect, I'm like, if I beat Will, I'm on the team, right? And so that's my mentality. I'm like, okay, let me see how he's warming up. Let me see like what his vibe is. Let me see how Coach Fisher is. Like, once I see this, I'm like, okay, because you only, it's that saying, like I don't have to be uh I don't have to be the fastest person running from the line. I just don't want to be the slowest, right? And so for me, I'm like, there's three spots. If I see one person as a guarantee, I just got to be over that person. I've never won the Olympic trials, like, but I'm like, I've made the team.
I wasn't expecting that
I was
answer.
not expecting that at all. Especially coming like from
Coming
other
from you,
athletes, yeah, but from
the
you, I'm
gold
just like,
medalist, the two-time gold medalist.
like the second. I forgot to mention this, but I was going to bring it up later. This number 2 all time. There's only one person in the history of triple jump who's triple jump better than you. So read and also I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because the field events seem like such a solitary event. Like when I'm racing, I'm going with other girls with me, and I have to kind of judge my race based off of them. But like when you're on the line, you're by yourself, and so it's interesting to me to be like you're even watching him during the warm ups.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
but
was
I mean,
not.
even when I was running the 400, right? Like it's the 400 mentality is just very different than, like, because for me, when I was running 400, I was like, I cannot watch anybody else. Like, I just need to be in my zone. I need to run my race. Like, I need to get to 300, make my move, But in the triple jump, like, you got to think we're out there for an hour by itself. Then the warm up, we got this call room that we got to report 45 minutes. So it is a spectator event, right? Like, you can see so much. And people, like some people don't have poker faces. Some people, if someone's sick, if someone had a breakup, if somebody got like
Not the
sponsorship issues,
breakup.
like
No,
this stuff is I mean, it's so weird, right? Like you can see if somebody's about to get dropped, you can see somebody's jumping for that. Like they got something to prove. If somebody is like trying to feed their kids, you feel that, right? Like you can feel that passion. When you're on the track, it's just completely different. It's just like I got to do what I need to do in my lane.
So we want to talk about this 400 though, because in 2014, I think you sent like shockwaves out when you were like, "I'm going out for the 4x4 World Relays," and it was like, "But hold up, wait a minute, did y'all forget that he ran the 4x4 at Florida too?"
And
So like,
I remember that race. I remember being in the stands watching. I was like, Christian Taylor's going off.
went
Yeah, so
off.
I felt disrespected because people were like, oh my gosh, this triple jumper's coming out there. But I'm like,
Hold on,
but
wait.
I've been running the 400. Like I was doing it.
I've been doing
Like I was
this.
like, this is what I got recruited for. Like I didn't get recruited for jumping. I got recruited for 4x4 and the jumps, right? So like I was just like, I ran with Tony McQuaid. I ran with Calvin Smith, right? So I ran with some serious 400 guys too. We ran 3 flat down there. We ran 259 down there. So like I was just like, I don't know why it's such a shock. But yeah, no, I saw the opportunity to do a free trip to the Bahamas. I'd be a fool to pass up that. And then, yeah, another way to make my brand stand out and put my name out there.
Ay, ay, ay.
No, I remember because I remember referencing you because we in college, Coach Flo, he would make everyone first meet everyone unless you were like a thrower or something. But everyone coached by him was running a 4x4. And I remember one of the jumpers was like, "I'm a long jumper, triple jumper." And I was like, Christian Taylor was at the NCAA. You know, trying to make it on this 4x4. Like, who do you think you are? You ain't Christian Taylor.
That's
Everybody
hilarious.
wanted to be
Oh,
specialized, but for me, I always saw it as a competitive edge, right? Because I thought none of you jumpers know what lactic feels like, and for me, like butt lock is something you cannot. I feel like you can't even explain it. Like it's just something you have to experience, and
it's a
you
spiritual
gain
thing.
so much respect. You get like humility, and in a 400. I mean, I don't even want to know what 800 is like, but like I
It's
just
not
feel
as
like you
bad.
just contemplate your life like in the 400, right? And so I'm like, if I can take myself to those depths, what is running 40 meters down a runway, right? Like that's nothing.
So do you feel like the 400 makes you a better triple jumper,
I,
or
for me, mentally, it took me to a different place,
yeah?
and that was always my secret. That was my secret to success. I don't train harder than other people. Like that would be disrespectful. I'm not more talented. I'm not stronger. I'm not no, but I'm willing to go mentally further than I believe my competitors do. And with that, again, there's people running hundreds and 200s, but I'm like, until you get to that 400, until you are walking across that line, like I don't feel like you've gone to that level. Until you were doing the 350s, the 250s, the 30-second recovery, like if you're not doing that stuff, like you just don't know.
You can't talk to me.
So I'm like, when it comes to that
It's
last
like
jump, like
it's like
I
when
know
you
I
do your
got more in my
workout.
tank.
It's like when you do your workout and then the short sprinter wants to complain about doing half your workout and you're like, I don't want to hear it.
Not right
Please
now.
do
It
not
makes you sick
constant.
when you got sprinters and they're like, "Oh, we going to the movies tonight." You like, I don't know how I'm gonna leave this track. Like, I can't get into my car, and y'all already making plans for the weekend.
Facts. Facts.
I remember someone was like, I never see you. I said, I have practice. He's like, we all have practice. I said, no, I have to. My time off from practice to get me ready for practice.
Like
Don't talk to me about
that's
an after party.
I'm over here recovering. I gotta wake up and do this again.
But just every day is just trying to survive to the next day. But one of the reasons why I know you are, to put it in the best way I can, a disgusting human being. Just a
To
nasty,
put it in the best way. Okay. All
just
right.
a beast among beasts. This man was like, you switched
Disgusting.
legs. You switched legs. Can we talk about that decision? He's running the 400. He said, you know what? Got a little knee injury. I'm just going to do it. If I had to switch lead legs right now, please stop. And I do pretty good alternating, but no.
So the issue was I had tendonitis, right? So we talk about that arthritis that like is overuse. and the tendonitis just got so bad that I was not even able to train. Every time I would jump, my knee would swell up and I would miss 3 or 4 days of training. At the top level, you cannot afford that because at this time, the Diamond League circuit was 3, 4 days in between, if not you doing a world challenge. That's the right name, right? It's all
Yeah.
these meets are changing names, but yeah, world challenge. You had the EA meet. So like, honestly, because I feel like I was very fortunate to see almost the old style of Golden League. That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
Like the older style of track and field. And every 3 to 4 days, you can get to a meet, but I wasn't able to do that because I'm icing every single day. I'm Norman teching every single just to be able to jump again. And so it just got to a point where I was like, I just need to step back. I need to figure out like what I'm gonna do. Am I just gonna hang it up? And really, just made the decision to like try it out. I had nothing to lose at this point. I was world Olympic champion. I said, you know what, like I can hold my head high, saying that I gave it my all. I made it to the top. And really, after that 1 year figuring everything out, got back to Beijing 2015 and ended up surpassing the jumps that I was doing for the last 10, 15 years. And that's when I thought, okay, wow, like again, going back to that mentality, like believing in something you don't see, right? So don't focus on just like your situation at the moment, like focus on that potential, focus on like what you're capable of. And I was again able to live that out.
Like I said, disgusting. Because so what was that process like? Oh, a quick, easy,
No.
I can do it, or was it?
No, so this was probably the most humbling, maybe to this point, most humbling experience of my life, if not my career, because I went from dominating Diamond League, dominating the circuit, coming out, having this big splash as a professional athlete, to losing every meet that year. Like every meet I was losing, and the commentators were like, "Wow, maybe he was, like a supernova. Maybe he just came out, he burned bright, and like it got to his head, or maybe he's lost his motivation." And I didn't tell anybody that I was switching, right? So I would just jump, compete, like I'd give it my all. I didn't tell my competitors. Nobody knew, right?
Well, so no
Like
one
literally,
noticed while you were jumping that you were jumping from the other leg?
no, no. It happened so quickly, but obviously people would see the results and be like, "What's going
What's
on?"
going
Right? And
on?
I'd just be like, "Oh, I'm just working on stuff. Me and my team, we're working on stuff. The very generic stuff." But I was like I don't need very similar to the relationship. Like I was like, I don't need people in my business, right? Like I don't need
Right. The
people
distractions,
planting
peanut
seeds and
gallery.
distracting me. Just like I'm just gonna focus on doing what I need to do. And yeah, every meet that year I lost every meet, and I was like, that's okay because I know like what's ahead. I know what's in store. And yeah, the next year just came out with a bang and end up myself and formerly Cuban triple jumper. Now he's Portuguese. Now he's actually the Olympic champ. We both ended up going 59 feet in Doha together, and first time in history, two people going over 18 meters, and it was breaking all kind of records, and it was like, okay, I'm back.
Because what I love about it, that whole story, is that I feel like a lot of people would have used that as an excuse, as a cop out. Oh, Chris. Oh, well, I'm switching legs. I have to deny. It's like, and the fact that you were like, I know what journey I'm on. I don't need a validation from everyone else. I don't like. I can take these hits, these little, because I know what's going on. It really says a lot about your character and your mentality as an athlete. Because I think a lot of people would have been like, I'll just tell them like, hey, I'm working, and then because I'll get brownie points because people are like, oh, well, he's so good for what he's doing, and you only held yourself to like, I either am good against the rest of the world, or I'm not. Like I'm not just good.
Yeah, but for me, it's like A, I don't want to put this crutch out there, but B, also it's not fair for my competitors, right? Like if I go out there and I say, well, you know what I'm dealing with, it takes away from
From what they're
all my
doing.
competitors. They're going in and they're winning, they're jumping their best, they're very proud to say, hey, I beat the world and Olympic champion. Why should I be the one to take that away from them, right? So I'm like, if I show up to compete, I'm signing up saying I'm ready, right? Because I have the choice to be at home. If so people that are like, oh, I was dealing with food poisoning, I was like, things happen in life, but it's like, but if you had a choice, You had a choice to go down the elevator, get on that bus, do the warm up, and say, I'm fit enough to get on the line. I'm fit enough to get into the ring. And so for me, that was my mentality. I was like, I'm not going to take away from what my competitors are working on. I don't need to be a distraction to them.
I have no words.
He's a real one. Like, real rap raw.
I
God.
have no words. But I mean, hearing that mentality, it's now a no-brainer, but we still want you to explain you essentially being the world champion, the Olympic champion, and saying, "Hey, collectively as athletes, we got to do better," and starting this
Mm.
athletics association. And we've kind of talked a little bit where it's like it has to be a you, a Emma. It has to be those faces to kind of rally up the troops and kind of get the ball rolling. And just listening to your mentality and just like I'm blown away. But now
No,
it like it makes perfect sense. But I want you to explain the inspiration behind the goals, how we can support all the things, please.
Yeah. So I want to be the first to say, because I believe to give honor where it's due. We are not the first ones to try this, right? So there was TFAA when I came in, right? So I can say I was inspired by Adam Nelson. I was at the annual meetings, and I heard him up front saying we need to use our collective voice. At coming out of at a university, I was just like, what is this, right? Like I have my agent saying there's no more team mentality. It's you need to focus, and him, Adam Nelson, coming up front and saying we need to come together. There is power in unity. And so I was one side hearing focus on yourself, an athlete leader saying no, we need to come together. And unfortunately, the athletes just didn't back it because as you all know, the track and field spirit is like, if it
It's
doesn't
an
benefit
individual
me,
sport.
like I'm on to the next, right? Like everyone is looking, everyone's with a handout, everyone is like, how am I benefiting? If it's not, like next. So and he was the first call when all this started up, because I was like, look, you planted the seed in me 10 years ago. What went wrong? Where did it fail? Like I wanted to know all the things that went wrong, all the things that went right, journal everything, and then was just like, okay, let me start to brainstorm. And the biggest thing, the biggest downfall, he said it was not at that time IAAF, it was not the sponsors, it was the athletes. The athletes did not come together. Um, and the difference that we were doing with the Athletics Association is we're a global union or a global association. And so he was saying, your fight is going to be 10, 20 times harder because it's not going to the annual meeting and saying, hey guys, let's rally together. You're now working with multilingual. You're working with different cultures. You're working with, right? And so it was just like, okay, how are we going to work with all these NGBs? How are we going to work with all these national bodies, these athletes, these but I just thought, as you guys hear with my mentality, I was like, let's not focus on the problem, let's find a solution. And it was really, as I've been very fortunate to be at the top level, build this network, it was just reaching out to Olympic champions, world champions, because of the clout, right? I was like, would you just be willing to say, I back this? Because at the top we struggle with this, so imagine what it's like for the bottom athletes, because that was going to be the thing we would get killed from the beginning. Oh, it's that person, that ninth person that didn't make the final, that has to complain. It's a person that doesn't have the sponsorship that's complaining. It's like, no. If the champions are complaining, then what is it like for everyone else, right? Like it's not as glorious as they're trying to paint it. And so strategically, that's what we did. We got the media to buy into it very quickly, of course. Then World Athletics bought into it very quickly and said, this is something serious. It never looks good for an organization to have an issue with their biggest stakeholders. They recognized that and respected it. And I said, look, President Seb, the council, all this stuff. This is not. We're not trying to boycott. We're not trying to. This is not the first time this has happened. You are a former athlete, so you should understand, right, through the lens of an athlete, you should understand why this is important. But ultimately, if the athletes are not at the center, you guys are saying we're an athlete-centered organization, where is our influence, right? So if we're not in the center, if we don't have any kind of influential power, then
Mm-hmm.
there's literally no weight behind those words, and we're going to challenge that. And so that was it. It was really just getting athletes to buy in and continually get athletes to buy in. And again, because we're really globally based, we're trying to make sure that we have the resources available in multiple languages, because right now the biggest challenge is just going to be exposure, visibility. How can we get people to understand what we're doing, who we are, and ultimately the biggest idea is putting the athletes where they belong, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not a gift. It's where they belong. We
Yeah.
are the sport. That is our mission, and it's getting empowering athletes to recognize like the sport is nothing without them.
Yeah. I've said time and time again, I think the thing that we glorify in our sport is the thing that actually holds us back, is that we are such an individual sport, that we're such individual athletes, that when it's time for us to come together collectively, it's we don't know how. Which, I mean, the majority of us that, went to big, that, let me not even say big schools, college, high school, you ran track on your team, like, we've had this team experience, but for whatever reason it's been our challenge. What would you say has been the response from the athletes since the beginning, and what would you say are the biggest, like, goals? Because I think oftentimes, sometimes we have, like, we want to do so much, and sometimes it's like, okay, well, let's start here, these are the top two things that we're working on, um, as we get started here.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest the goal that we've set from the very beginning, putting like getting that seat at the table, right? Like that's never going to change. That is the core of who we are. And this is not about athlete representation being at the table, because the commission can come back, the World Athletics Commission come back and say, well, we're here. But then when you ask, well, how much voting power do you have? It's a joke, right? And it's not swaying the needle by any means. And even with that, even with the minority vote that they have, how influential are you are in the decisions, right?
Right.
Are they keeping you in the open lines of communication? Are you aware of the changes? Are you aware of so? Yeah, first and foremost, I don't want to go too deep, but
No, go
having the
deep.
influential position to make decisions and knowing what goes into these decisions, right? Why do we have the partners that we have? Is it because they're just writing big checks, or they're actually trying to grow the sport, right? So things like this. Secondly, because this has also been near and dear to, especially with the pandemic, mental health. Having the resources like Talkspace, like Headspace. So you having this app where you can have virtual help, but also having resources, counselors, sports psychologists, having these resources to say, look, it's okay if you're at the Olympic trials and you're nervous. Like, that comes with the sport, but how do you channel that to benefit you, right? Not to hinder you. And I think now it's becoming more of a thing, but before, I can say before, especially as men, even going deeper, especially as Black men, this is not a thing that is, fathers aren't saying, come and talk to me, right? It's like, man up. And so, again, I don't want to go too deep into this, but it's providing the resources to let people know help is okay and help is there. And then last, it is really trying to get money back into the athletes' hands, right? So it's one thing to say, well, we've signed $40 million contracts, but where's that money going? And why
Not
are the
seeing
athletes
any
still
of it.
working multiple jobs as professionals, right? So we can also say, let's define the word professional, but as you all will know, this can go and take. So that's
Let's
why I didn't
have
want
that
to bring.
conversation,
I
Christian.
didn't want to bring this one
Right.
up.
So if I have to have this conversation one more time,
Um,
I will.
it's very frustrating that, especially when I come back to the States and, people say, hey, what do you do? And I'm a professional track and field athlete. Yeah, but how do you make money? And it's like, it's not recognized, from the outside. So let alone we're failing internally, right? So there are different levels to it, but the first and consistent goal that we've had is getting the athletes a seat at the table.
I would like to be a tad petty right now, because I'm me. And so you say athletes need a seat at the table. And Natasha and I have had a long debate about this. If you were to have a deciding factor in the debate that is this sudden death round with
I was like, where are we going with this? Okay.
I was seeing where she was going.
I was like, we've talked about a bunch of things,
Christian
but
Taylor
okay.
as world champion, two-time gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist. Like, where do you stand on this?
Where do I stand on what?
The sudden death rule in the Diamond League.
Sudden death? What is sudden death?
Oh, Christian.
So you know how like everyone gets 3 rounds,
Is it 3
and
or
then the top
5?
three can. I think.
You're talking about the final three format.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
I call
okay,
it the sudden
sorry.
death.
Okay, see, like, okay, like you. So the final three format. I'm gonna speak as Christian Taylor, the athlete. I am completely against it. I think
Thank you, Christian Taylor.
I I understand because I'm having the conversations with Diamond League. I understand that they're looking for a decisive moment and a way to be more attractive and to change. But this is not the route. Athletes were not involved with this process, and so again, just going off that point, like if we're looking for solutions, speak to the stakeholders that it would affect, right? Which should be the audience and the athletes, not the 20 people, 10 people at a table that maybe participated. So many of them not even former athletes, believe this is a good idea and are actually taking the livelihoods, money out of athletes' pockets because of a possible, I'm so against this. I've been against it. I was hoping that during the 2020 year when it was tried, they said it wasn't given a valid try. But I was really pushing like, let's cut it. Here's some proposals. But yeah, unfortunately, it's still standing, and we have to figure out a way to get the athletes to speak up on it, but also to come up with additional proposals. Because what we don't want is that they're saying, well, you guys aren't presenting enough. We've got documentation to say, here's some possibilities. We got clutch rounds. We got
What's a clutch round?
stealing. So basically, the last round, so everyone has the same attendance, but there would be a bonus if someone basically hopped positions, right? So if, for instance, Michelle Carter comes, she's in fourth place, last throw moves to first. There should be a super bonus or something that would benefit the athlete, would be captivating for the crowd because they would be pushing for every athlete in their last attempt. But now you send in the narrative that the farthest distance or the farthest jump cannot even be the winner because on the last round, so I'm like, you're confusing the audience. What are we doing?
Well, Christian, I would just like to say, and I'm speaking on behalf of me, myself, personally, not Natasha. I have been an advocate for the jumpers, for the throwers, for the field of interest that I love. I've been against this rule. I can't say the same for Natasha. I can't do that. That's what I cannot do.
Listen, I am quite fine with being on the island by myself. You don't have to she's trying to throw me under the bus here, and
no, you put yourself.
It is A-okay. But Christian,
yourself.
you started this off saying that you're speaking as Christian the athlete. Is there someone else that you can speak as on this?
Christian,
So I can say
an audience member, the spectator. Do you like it as a spectator?
Oh no, as a spectator, it confuses me because I spent all season watching the Diamond League, right? Like I was in the hospital bed. I was in the clinch. So
Does it really confuse you as the spectator, or are you confused as the spectator who is also an athlete watching?
But Natasha, if you run 48 seconds, someone runs 50 seconds, and they're deemed winner because
I ran 48 seconds in the semifinal round and not in the final. There's no confusion there.
No. But if you guys ran, so you had lane 5, they had lane 4. Because 4 is deemed the ideal lane, but they ran slower than you. You guys ran in the same race. Your time is better.
But in the same sudden death final, we jumped or we threw in that same situation, and that person threw further, So there's no confusion to me. But in the semifinal or in the rounds before that, yes, I had a faster time or a faster throw to get into that final throw. So yeah, but now that we're here, everybody starts from the same point. So
So you think it's actually better because it brings it closer to
I'm
the
not
final?
saying it's better or worse. I'm saying I get it. I'm saying that as a spectator, it does put more pressure on the athletes. It does put more, oomph and like, oh, who's gonna get it
I
in
don't
this
think it's
final
the same.
round?
And I'll
Because
say this
I
over
can
and over
I
again.
can
I feel
run
like
48 in the semi, but if I run 49 and someone else runs 48 in the final, then that's the winner.
But I also feel like, okay, in the final, you're going balls to the wall. You're trying the hardest that you
I'm
can.
also going
I
balls to
feel like
wall in the semis too.
okay, but what I'm saying is, in this new format for a jumper, if I'm a jumper, I'm gonna be like, well, let me make sure I don't hit this board because if I foul, I
Well, that's also
automatically
the
get third
thing too.
place.
As the jumper, you get 6 opportunities to get it right. I only got one.
Yeah.
But it's a
That's
different.
the
I
thing.
think
So
it's not the same
if
I'm
thing.
two
just
girls
and let me
if
let
two girls
me
if two women false start in your race, you
then you're
only have
out.
to you can run 2 minutes and win, and you'd be okay with this.
It is what it is. Listen, once upon a time, everybody in the race got 2 false starts, right?
I
Everyone
know.
could every
I was a king of jumping.
from 1 to 8,
That was
everyone could get 2 false starts. Then the rule went to there's only 2 false starts to the entire field. So the first person that false starts, the entire field is charged with the false start. The next person that false starts, you're disqualified. Now it's false start, you're out.
well,
Every
now
single
it's
time,
these new blocks.
every single
Everyone
time
gets
those
10 false
rules
starts.
changed, everybody was pissed.
Look at Bolton Daegu, right? The 100. He
But
lost the
it's
100
a
because of
part of the
this.
game. It's a part of how you show up and do your job. Everybody's held to the same standard.
But has it made the sport better?
Yeah.
I think so because there were times where we would be sitting there for 15 minutes waiting for the 100 to go off because everybody's got 2 chances to false start and everybody's trying to get the flyer.
I just don't think these are comparable situations.
For me,
I think
if I just say,
for me, I think the arguments that you guys are making are that as athletes, we're creatures of habits and we don't like change. And I think that's a fair
I'm for
argument.
change.
I think that's a fair argument. And I do like the suggestion that you also
change
had
doesn't make sense, though.
that if someone, jumps from 4th to 1st place, then they get a bonus. I'd also like to see something like that in the sprints then.
Absolutely, but let's be very fair. For change to happen, in
But
the
it's not
sprints,
fair because you guys already have 6 opportunities to get it right.
It's different, though.
It's different.
Because
That's what we're always going to say. It's
wait.
just
Hitting the
different
board, hitting the board is way different.
than running
And
around the
actually
track and
possibly
staying in
and
my
running
lane,
and
not
hitting
stepping
this
on the
little
line, not
board
false
is
starting, not
But
tripping and
Natasha,
falling, staying in
I
my
would
own
be
race,
for-
my own race as I run next to other people,
But here's the
and
thing,
I'm
your
not
lane is
running
this
down the
big.
runway by
Your lane is this
myself.
big and you're going that way. You're not going this way.
I'm
Your
just
lane is this
saying.
big,
I'm
and the
just
board is
saying.
like Christian
I
Taylor,
would
the
be
Olympic
Crimea
medalist.
River, Argentina.
I would be for. I will put it out here for everyone to hear. If track athletes feel discriminated because they only get one chance, if you guys want a final 6 times in one night, you're not going to get pushback from us.
Come on, Christian.
Listen,
If you want to do 6,
I'm not saying that I want to.
Okay. That's why you Christian Taylor. I appreciate you.
I'm not saying that I want to, but I'm also saying that you get six opportunities to get it right. Like 2 things can be true at the same time. No, I
It's true.
absolutely
I
don't want to run
like that
6
comeback
400s.
Then
But
you can run your 6 rounds.
The truth
Natasha.
is, you get 6 opportunities to get it right.
but now only one counts.
Only one
Natasha has
counts.
established herself as
What I run in the trials in the semis does not count. It's what I do in the finals. So now y'all have a final round.
But not here's
I
also
like having these debates with y'all.
eight
And
people get
Kori
the
brought it up. It
opportunity,
wasn't me.
eight people get the opportunity to win in our final. It's only three of them, which is insane to me. And if it was
Well,
supposed to be
I've
between
conceded on that. I've conceded on that. That maybe it should be 1 through 8. There's 8 finalists in every other event. Maybe it should be 8, and I'll concede on that.
Christian, I apologize for starting.
No, it's no problem. Again, we need to have these
We're just
conversations.
having banter here.
No, we need to have these conversations because that's how we're gonna find solutions, right?
Come
And
on,
I feel
Christian.
like
Come
if
on,
anyone,
It's
Christian.
always
if
been.
anyone can speak on this, it's you because not only are you a world class jumper, you also are a world class sprinter, as we've discussed. So anyone who, because we're only speaking from the track side, you're speaking from the field and the
And
track
the
side.
track.
It's two different worlds, right? It's just two completely different worlds. But again, I completely welcome uh, these conversations because this is when these ideas, that's when things get cooking and we find solutions, right? So it may be, how about Final Four? How about, but one of our arguments went, so to keep it even playing field, if there are 6 field athletes, why are there not 6 people in the final, on track athletes? And they said, yeah, how would that look to have 6 people on an 8-lane, 9-lane track? So, doesn't matter, right? So in the spirit of equality, do 6 and
Yeah.
6.
And
But
I
this
feel
was completely
like
shut down.
you guys already get less TV time, if any. Like they already don't show your jumps on TV, and which affects sponsorship, which affects and so to keep cutting down on your opportunities to make money as a field eventer when there already are your opportunities are limited. I just feel like it's crazy.
Yeah, but we have to keep having these conversations.
And
That's
I
the
think
thing.
your
So
point too about us having the seat at the table to be able to have these conversations, as opposed
yeah.
to people that
And being
don't do what we
presented, hey,
do.
what are the challenges, right?
Yeah.
So if you're saying the TV window, we've only got a limited 2-hour window. Let's create a program that we can fit this, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's very difficult to find solutions if you don't know the entire problem.
Yeah.
Now
Or
that's
like
a whole nother conversation there, because some of us be loud and wrong. Be very loud and wrong, okay? You said it very nicely, very eloquently. We need to know the whole problem. We need to know how the system works. There are ways that things are done. You don't just go in a room and start screaming and hollering.
because we about to
All
walk
right.
in this room calling it the sudden death round, and that's not what it's called.
Christian was like, "What?"
And we were like, Christian,
Like, Christian, where have you been?
bring this down.
Whole time it's no, y'all need to get your shit together.
Look, we don't claim to be experts in. I don't claim to be experts in anything.
I don't claim to be no
I'm doing my
expert.
best. I'm just trying to support. How can athletes, other than signing up for? How am I having a brain fart? Other than signing up for the Athletics Association, how else can they help the movement be? Words, Kori, tonight. I don't know what is up with me. How can they get their ideas across, have their voices heard?
Use your platform. Use your voice. Like I don't want to like simplify it too far, but like social media is a blessing and a curse. But if you want to get a message across globally very quickly, tweet it, put it on the gram. But like, you can just, when an athlete, especially, I mean, top athletes have a following for a reason, right? And there are a lot of athletes that want to follow in their footsteps, not because of also the performance, but who they are, right? What they stand for. So if you two are saying, guys, athletes need to use your voices, that's it. This can be translated in so many different ways, but it's a spark. And that starts a conversation. And then we can have more conversations like this. But ultimately, it's just athletes from the beginning, we just want athletes to know what's going on, like to get that instead of having to go through the agents, instead of having to hear through the grapevine information. You know, it's horrible getting to a meet and hearing, hey, just so you know, like there's no semi, it's straight final, and you're like, excuse me, right? Like, why is an athlete not informed first?
Yeah.
So, you know, just athletes using their platforms, using their voices, and knowing that their words have power.
I want one of the things that you highlighted that's the difference between the Athletes Association and previous collective groups is that it is a global entity. And one of the things that Natasha and I were talking about is like in the US, like we have a lot of people talking about you saw to this, you saw to that, and then when we look at the rest of the world, their athletes are like, actually, it's not that big of a deal. It's just part of it's a privilege to be part of, you know, WADA and all that stuff. Do you find that the issues that us Americans have, because I feel like in our country, really, we have a very like USA first mentality. Do you find the issues that American athletes have differ from the ones that athletes around the world have, or do you find that collectively we're on a pretty much like same page?
Yeah, so as I highlighted at the beginning, one of the greatest challenges that we have now are the cultural differences. And as you highlighted, in the US, I mean, we are the first ones to say it's our right. It's our right, and I'm not trying to start anything. It's our
Please
right
start it.
to,
Please
No,
start it.
no, no,
Start
get
it.
her.
Start it.
it's our right to or not to be vaccinated. It's our right to wear a mask. It's our right to. So we are so quick to say it's our right, and many other countries face the exact same problems, but it's not their right. It is this is the way it is, right? So they're having meetings, they're having councils, they're voting people into those positions, and they're the ones that are making the changes. But in America, we have this freedom, which is a gift, but this freedom can also play into many factors that can sometimes hinder us, right? So unfortunately, this slows down a lot of decision making. This slows down a lot of change because everyone feels it's their right to X, right?
Next
And
question,
go
because
ahead.
Natasha and I have discussed this. Is sport a right?
Is sport
Is
a
being
right?
that? Yeah. Because some people will say, like, it's my right to be an athlete, so therefore I deserve X, Y, and Z. And we have come under this, like, it is a privilege.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
you're
I see it
gifted
as a
and you
gift.
earned everything, but, like, it's a privilege to get to compete, which is why you need to get drug tested. It's a privilege, which is why you need to adhere to the rules and regulations that are set out by organizations.
Yeah, so I see sport as a gift because you like we all know there are countries that women that many of the population don't have that chance, that ability,
Yeah.
that opportunity, right? So I see sport as a gift. It is a way out for some people. It is you know a way of meeting their needs. So sport can be a lot of things, but unfortunately, again, in this country, and I've had this conversation with Shu. You know, shout out to Shu, shout out to Kim, shout out to Bika. Like I've had these conversations of this attitude of entitlement, right? Like I'm on the national team. Where's my check?
Why did we
I'm on.
just why are we here now? We should have started off with this conversation. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, Chris,
You
you
know,
got to be an official member of Track Girl Summer.
Come on.
So
Come on.
I have potential. So I haven't even done anything, right? But y'all see my following. So I should be getting these drops. I should be getting and it's like there's this spirit, there's this belief of this entitlement. It's like I need to get this before I work for it or earn it, right? And again, I believe because of the era I came through, you know, I had a lot of veterans like on my first teams, you know, in Daegu in London, and it was just like you got to earn your spot, right? Like you want two shirts, like there's no dry fit, right? So you got your cotton shirt, figure out how to wash it. Like there's no, you know, Marshall was on the team. We had some nice people, but it was like you better figure it out. If you're not on the bus, that's it. Now it's everything is so tailored, everything is so light. No one can be offensive. You know, you got to be political about what you say. So I think again, you know, with this this freedom, with this belief of it's my right, then that falls under it, and that's, to be honest, holding us back.
You know, Kori and I are no longer the hosts of Track Girl Summer. I'm handing it off to Christian Taylor. I'm
There's a
just.
lot of things I like to speak on, right? Like, because of just the time I've been in the sport, and I believe that I really received the baton at the right time. The thing is, what motivates me now is I want to hand it off the right way, right? Like, we can all see the direction it's going in. It's not the direction that we want it to go in, right? And we have the opportunity, like, not to, like, we have the opportunity to be the change, right?
Yeah.
Plant the seeds, and encouraging people to go to the annual meetings, to be a part of that conversation. I spoke to Wallace today. Like, I was like, hey, is it going to be actual? Are we going to a location? Is it going to be virtual? We need to get that message out. Like, it's important for people to be involved, because if not, it's just going to be a bunch of people with their hands out. Please, can I have some more? And we can't have this attitude. That does not get medals.
Christian, we're gonna have to have you back because this right here is the conversation that, like,
We've been trying to have.
Kori and I will be, and it's the unpopular truth, right?
It's not
Because
flashy, but it's real. Like, these are real situations.
And that's how you create change, because I feel like when you
Why,
talk
why
about
is the longevity
entitlement,
of track and field athletes so much shorter now? Because before, you had to grind for it. You were fighting your training partners. You were, like, hustling. You were waiting for that. I came in with BBM, with BlackBerry, right? So I got the pin, and it was like, hey, you made it into some city you never heard of, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna make a way. Now it's like, you're not flying me first class.
I'm
I'll
not
stay at
coming.
home. Athletes don't want to compete anymore. Athletes, like, if you're not paying me enough, I'm not going 1 against 2. And it's like, you guys are killing the sport. People want to see the heads. You guys can't be dodging each other until the championships. Like, that doesn't build us up. So there's a lot of
Don't
things I
get
can
me
speak
started
on.
on that, because I have another thing that when I say, people are like, no, that's too much. But I also think there should be a minimum of number of meets, and not just in your contract, but we gotta go.
well,
But people were upset about the whole point system for the Olympic Games thing, and I will point out that it failed. In some instances, it failed, but the idea behind it, I'm not mad at,
I,
because
I
we
disagree.
have such autonomy that if I feel like it, all I have to show up to is the Olympic trials and the Olympic Games. But if we're talking about bringing consistent fans to the sport, we have got to sell a consistent product. I know where LeBron is playing, how many times a year, from the time the schedule comes out to the very end of the year. Now, injuries happen. That's
That's not.
that's a different conversation. But if our biggest ticket sellers only have to show up twice a year, how do
Can
we
I,
grow the sport?
but okay, LeBron shows up to where he's supposed to show up because there's no one saying, "Oh, the Lakers can't play here," right? Where our meets are privately. Each meet has a meet director
Oh, no,
that
no,
can
no. I'm not
say,
saying the
"Oh,
system is
listen,
100% flawed.
and so
The system is flawed. Don't get me wrong. The
So
system
I
is
agree there should
flawed.
be a but like the, I can't be penalized if I because there's some on the other side of the coins. There's athletes who do want to compete and they can't get in, or it's cheaper for me to get this French athlete who's not as good as you, but I can put him on a train and get him here tomorrow instead of putting you on a business class flight all the way from America. And I think like I get what you're saying,
But
where
I
you're going
think
with
that
it,
happens a
but
lot
in
less.
execution,
The scenario that you just described happens a lot less
I'll tell you one thing.
because
My first year, I had the number 2 time in the world. They did not put me in the Diamond League final, and they put a girl in the final who ran 60 seconds in the 400 hurdles over me. because that was her country.
I believe it happens. Like I
It
cannot say it
happens.
doesn't happen. You just said it happens, but I'm going to be with Natasha. Majority, like we cannot build a following if athletes don't know when, if you compete, and if they do compete, they go to the Shoulder Fawn, they go to Claremont, they go to these meets that you're like a bit
What?
questionable.
How?
They get they get these times, these distances, and then you're like, see you at the trials with the preferred lane, and it's like, well, that's not fair. When I've been jumping, I'm dealing with jet lag, I'm dealing. So you got these athletes that even if the meet director gives you a business class flight, you should be able to say, hey, I'm over here. Can I do 3 or 4 meets? These athletes are just doing round trip. I run, do my 50 seconds, some seconds, come back home, and then I'll wait to the trials. You cannot build a following this way.
No, and I agree with you. I just feel as though if you're going to hold the athletes accountable, you also
Everybody's
have
accountable.
it's accountable.
Everybody's
So if you're
accountable.
gonna say, hey, in order to get these points, you have to go to X amount of meets, then you need 7 lanes
Everybody's accountable. And
that
that's why I said
are
the point
orderly.
system.
If you have this time, you get in, and then and you get 1 lane for whatever. You can't have 3 lanes to whoever you want. Do you know what I'm saying? I agree with you guys,
But that's why I
but
said
feel
the
like
point
you
system
also
was
have to
flawed.
look at the execution of it.
But the
Yeah.
point
We're
of
agreeing
it,
with you.
yeah, the point system
Yeah.
was flawed. But the end goal of what the point system was supposed to do, I totally see what the vision was.
Yeah, I
Totally
get
see
that.
it.
But you can't tell me Anika wasn't jumping.
Because you got to think also, right? This plays into the favor for the agents, right? So if an agent is close with the meet director, then their athletes most likely get it. So of course, Natasha's saying over and over again, it's flawed. Like there are things that need to be corrected that to make it an even playing field. All this stuff, right? Like it's not perfect, but we need to get to the place where there's an incentive of y'all need to compete. Also,
Yeah.
we're marketing tools, and people cannot forget that, right? That's where the companies come from. They're like, how can we get you on a billboard? How can we get you on the meets? How can we get you on TV time? And when you're in wherever, at training, making a post now and then, like they're not getting a return. So now this actually affects the next generation because they're like, we paid 10 million and didn't get exposure. The sport is growing, so let's put in 5 million this year. So we're actually jeopardizing the next, next cycle.
Yep. Yep.
It's not like as human beings we have to get away from this mentality like me.
Me. Yep. Yeah.
We're a community. Like everything we do has a consequence. Everything we do actually trickles down, right? Like what we do today, these conversations.
It should trickle down because again, the systems are flawed.
Yeah.
But
It should, yeah. But yeah.
You got to be mindful of that.
And I think it also plays into like, you said this entitlement. I have X amount of followers, so therefore I deserve X, Y, and Z. And I think, like I said, where it's like you have these meet directors who can just put in whoever they want, and they can put in someone who has a big following but doesn't actually have the athletes and the time to back it up. And so as an athlete, sometimes you get to sitting like, okay, do I want to sit here and make a bunch of thirst traps, get my followers up, and that's how I secure the bag? Or do I want to do some extra reps at practice? I feel like social media has created a lot of new opportunities for athletes, but at the same time, it has also sometimes, I don't want to say rewarded the wrong people, but like it has
rewarded the wrong.
It has changed the landscape of like what is being rewarded.
No, you're 100% correct. It's rewarding the wrong people. Like we have gone from a performance-based sport to a surface, a clout chasing sport.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it's not done.
And here's the thing: the business of it is always going to make it a little muddy because you want the best athletes on the track, but then you also, as the meet promoter, as the agent, also have to be thinking about selling tickets. So yes, if you have this local athlete in, I don't know, some small country, but they have a following in that country and you need tickets in that, butts in those seats, you might put that local countryman over. So the business of it definitely makes it muddy, definitely a flawed system. I don't want to be an agent or a meet promoter for that reason, because we can all sit up here and say this, and this is how it's supposed to be. But at the end of the day, the dollars and the cents got to make sense. And so there are going to be things that are done that we as the athlete are sitting back like, but I've jumped this, I've performed this, I've done this,
But I
but
feel like that's
business still
because,
has to be taken care of. So
but I feel like,
it's never, everyone's never going to be, it's never going to, everyone's never going to be happy is
no,
what
and
For
I
I'm
sure.
think that,
saying.
but I also
There's,
think our sport doesn't do a great job of highlighting great performances. And that's why
that's a fact.
followers get more clap, because LeBron James doesn't have followers because he is, the hottest man on the court. He has mad followers because he balls. You know what I'm saying? Like, even today, I saw, for some reason I checked to see how many followers an athlete had, and I was like, why the heck do I have more followers than this person? Because in my mind, she is leagues above me as far as accomplishments. And I'm just like, that to me, that's not right, because I'm like, this person
but
deserves
it's again the business of it too.
celebrated.
Like,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
performance. But what's the story behind?
I
Because
just want ball to
yes,
ball.
LeBron has a ton of followers for his performance. Okay, all right, leave me alone. But LeBron has also done a good job of how he, reaches back and started these schools and the things that he does in his community and the
Yeah, for
family
sure.
man that he is. All of those things also go into, and that's a thing too where I say sometimes we get lost in track and it does make the work harder for us because we just want to focus on the training. But
But he,
unfortunately, people want to know our business too.
but he's the star of our sport, and he's the star of his sport, and he has the athletes to back it up. We've got people who are being touted, and it's like, what have you actually done?
Yep. Hey, this is like call it what it is. I mean, people like Kim K thrive. You don't have to do something, right? Like, there's some people that just like strike while it's hot, make the most of it, won't do something. I don't want to speak bad on her, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just
And you
like,
know what? I can't even say that I'm mad at those people either.
I'm not.
Strike while it's hot. But
you.
once it's not hot, get out the way. Once it
But
cools
also
off,
don't be upset when you're not put in the same category as a top performer.
Mm.
that part.
Don't be mad when someone's like, "But what have you done?" Right? Because then I'm like, please.
Tell me. I'm
Yeah,
waiting.
this took me forever to get through this resume of Christian Taylor. Let me tell you, okay. And I didn't even put in his USA Championship title. I had to make some edits and some cuts.
But I think I've only won one US one national title.
Yeah, when you just said you never won an Olympic trials, I was like,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, I think I won
Yeah,
one world championship title.
because
Again,
you're also out there long jumping. I didn't even talk about
like
that.
people don't know, man. Like that stress is real. The
Yeah.
most times I vomited was USA nationals. Like it's crazy.
And we
I
sign
That's
up
so
to do it
stressful.
again year after year after
Right.
year.
I hate to do this because this is probably one of the. I say this every episode, but this actually is one of my favorite episodes. But we are significantly over time, and I don't really care. So me and Natasha were like, we're gonna make these episodes concise, and we're just gonna. But I don't feel like we were talking about nothing this whole time. I'm like,
No,
everything
it
needs
was
to be
pure
said.
gems.
Uh,
Hopefully some young athletes tune in
but we're gonna have to
and
back. Yeah. And
yeah.
oh my gosh. We need to have like a Christian Taylor Tuesdays where you just drop a tip or three.
Get your mind right.
We
Something.
appreciate having you here. This was
Of course.
a delight.
Enlightening.
To be
Like,
honest, I'm just glad to be able to have real conversations, productive conversations, healthy conversations. Because unfortunately now everything is about COVID. Everything is just so negative, and it's like, okay, like let's shine light on some things, but let's look for some solutions, right? So I'm glad that we were able to just juggle both sides and get perspective. But ultimately, I think our heart is for how can we grow the sport, and we can never forget that. Like, we are entertainers.
Period.
How can we grow the sport?
Period. I told you, Kori, Christian's the host.
Do I need to do the outro? Like, all right. Thank you guys for joining us today. Be sure to follow us everywhere: Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to Christian Taylor's YouTube channel that will be starting soon. Follow Christian at Taylor to Jump. Join the Athletics Association if you are an athlete and you want to get involved. You should want to get involved because what we've been talking about tonight is super pertinent to our sport and it can go a long way. Let your voice be heard and come back, see what we have next time. It's always a fun time. And remember, no matter what time of the year it is, it's always a track girl summer, baby.
Bye. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, but like not bye. Like don't leave.
All right. Bye.